Okay, there we are live. Good day and welcome back to another episode of the Air Force podcast. My name is Jaco and today we've got Brett with us. Brett, you're a bodybuilder, a fitness enthusiast, a personal trainer, and you also developed your own personal training regime. Welcome you with us. Thanks a lot for your time today.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And as I just mentioned, you're into the fitness industry, into the bodybuilding, personal training. Where did that start? How did you approach that part of your life?
Funny story, that one, but did actually start when I was about 14 years old. 14 years old, young, stepped into the gym for the first time and have not looked back since. Long story short, it was just something I found, anger management, etc. And growing up, I was always a bigger child, so I found good balance in the gym, and it was just something that it stuck with me. And yeah, through that, obviously, then it eventually evolved into a business, then turning it into personal training, etc. So, yeah, 14. So that was, did we get 24 years ago? Stepped in,
Okay, so it's quite a long time.
yeah, quite a bit.
Okay, and as you said, you've never looked back. So you actually took this kind of hobby thing, the thing that was actually something on the side for you, something to keep your mind at bay, and turn that into a career, turn your passion into a career. How did you manage to
100%.
do that?
Say again.
How did you manage to do that? How did you manage to turn your passion into your
How'd I turn
career?
how? Okay, yeah, it kind of happened because obviously, as you said in the background, I was kind of training. It's always been in my life. Worked in the corporate field for a couple of years as well. Built my way up the ladder, and eventually, I just thought, why the heck am I wasting my time building out someone else's dream when I could follow my passion and turn that into an income and turn that into a career, and then obviously take my mindset and the stuff that I've learned over many years and start engaging with that mindset approach to my different clientele bases as well.
Okay. And you've worked with a lot of clients, a lot of people along the years. How do
Mhm.
you manage each of them and their own fitness, like goals, their own fitness dreams? How do you manage that, and how do you approach each of their dreams, their goals, and help them to become successful? Because everybody's different, everybody's body is different, everybody reacts to things differently. How do you manage that?
Correct, 100% correct. Rather than using a conventional cookie cutter method, each one of my clientele bases is very different. So I have people from your general population, so from 20 up to 50, 60 years old, otherwise professional bodybuilders, professional athletes, as well as some Marines and other Navy SEALs that I've trained as well. So I've done everything from a military spec to a bodybuilding spec to just a normal, just go to the gym just to feel a little bit healthy with myself. So backtracking that everyone has got a different background, everyone's got different goals, everyone's got a different end game, and that's what I just developed into a different program for each one of them. Because as I mentioned earlier, I've been in the game for a very long time. I've taught myself, taught in the beginning. Obviously, then I went and did all the qualifications that were necessary to figure out how nutrition works, supplementation, as well as your PTing elements, which is obviously all something I've known how to do. Incorporated all that, and then I just give everyone a custom based thing. But pretty much what every one of them have wait, let me rephrase that. Each one has a common foundation where, like with driving a car, I found that if you've been driving a car for a very long time, you end up picking up some bad habits. And that's what happens with some of the professional athletes and what they picked up bad habits. They've had a coach that's kind of taught them the wrong way here and there. So it's always about reestablishing the foundation. And what I like to focus on is working from the inside out, getting the inside healthier and prettier and fit, and then revolving that on the outside as well.
Okay. And how important is that inside part? And um, and how
It's
do you
very important, and majority of
get that
people,
part better?
yeah, that's the most important one, because majority of people, only especially now with social media and how everyone sees
Mm.
the outside, they never actually realize that a lot of those people that are sitting and smiling on social media posts, etc., are actually miserable on the inside. So it's more about figuring out why you're doing this, the exact reason. Don't do this for your aunt. Don't do this for your best friend. You got to do this for you, and you got to figure out your reason, and then you evolve it from there. It's vitally important. Otherwise, you're literally just doing something on a repetitive cycle, day in and day out, without any end goal, because you don't even know what the end goal is. You're just going to reach this, and then you're going to keep going for this, and keep going for this, keep going for this, keep reaching for a higher height. And you're never going to really know what you're looking to achieve.
Okay. And how do you set those specific goals? How do people approach you and say that this is the kind of goals that they want to achieve? And then you have to look realistically and tell them that this cannot be achieved maybe in this short time. How do you manage that?
So with that again, no two clients are the same. Everyone is different. There's no exact method. There's no exact time frame that you can give each person, because some people can pick it up in 2 weeks. Some people will take 2 years. It all varies on them. It's varying on what they're willing to put into the process, and then obviously how hard they're willing to work. Again, like I've always said to the majority of my clients, I can always tell. It's like the horse saying: you can take a horse to water, but you can't force the horse to drink. So if a client wants to listen, do everything they're told, obviously the process will be a lot quicker. But if they want to kind of like still go out and party all the time, and they still don't really want to follow what they tell me they're following with regards to the diet, then this is where sometimes they're going to fall short.
Okay. And how important is and diet for achieving your fitness goals? Because these days a lot of focus is being put into the correct diet. And there's a lot of diets out there, a lot of things. And then there's a lot of people also saying that you shouldn't have a specific diet. You should rather live a specific lifestyle that is attainable, that is maintainable for throughout your entire life. What's your
Correct,
perspective?
because I wanted to stop you there. We can't use the word diet. Diet's a terrible word. Diet is a label that the food
Mm.
industry has put onto making extra money. It's not about dieting. It's about, like you said, now it's lifestyle choices. Obviously, if you're going to be a professional bodybuilder and this is your life, this is what you want to do, you're going to go on a diet of sorts that's a lot more extreme and that you have to follow. Where I like to look at it with your general person that just wants to get healthy and get fit, obviously you need to adapt certain elements of it, eat cleaner, this, and this. It's not about going and force fitting you to eat boiled chicken and boiled broccoli every single day. Sometimes in some cases you need to go and cleanse up the metabolism, do certain other elements. It depends on the clients, depends on the coach. Get them around that, and then you can start adding extra elements into it. So it's all varying on each one of the clientels.
Okay. What is the cleanse of a metabolism? Please tell me
See,
about
these are
that.
secrets I can't say. I cannot give away all the secrets, unfortunately. So it's
Okay,
literally
so
this. The way it would be is just kind of getting a detox of sorts.
okay. And how would that detox work? Would you clean your
See that I
entire
can't
body?
say.
Will
I
it
can give you. I can
is
give
it
you the detox element, but I can't give you. A chef can't give out his secrets.
Okay, definitely not. Okay, you
Yeah,
have your own business model as well. So
exactly.
okay, perfect. Okay. So people have to reach out to you in order to gain that kind of information.
Correct. Yeah. See, unfortunately, I know that with
Okay.
social media now, people are throwing freebies out everywhere.
Yeah,
I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've gained certain acquisitions, and knowledge due to me working for so long. Just to throw it out as freebies, it's just shooting myself in the foot, so to speak.
definitely.
Mm,
And as they say, exposure doesn't pay the bills. No. So um,
exactly.
just putting it out there. Okay, definitely. And then you mentioned previously that a lot of times people maybe reach a plateau, they reach like a limit, and they cannot really breach that limit, that plateau they've reached. How do you approach that? How do you like say, okay, we're going to adjust this and that, and some kind of things in order to push yourself beyond those limits in order to gain a bit further or going that extra bit that you need.
Yeah, agreed. So what's happening is they're reaching a plateau. So that'll happen every now and then if you follow the same regimen, the same diets, etc., for a very long time. Your body becomes very used to it, and it becomes a very consistent basis where nothing is really going to change. So it's about reestablishing what the initial stages were, building it up to reach that plateau, and then spiking it again. So there's different. There's no exact answer for that one because it's all depending on either the journey that the client's gone on, the processes, the diets, and there's a number of factors to element into it. But you got to know how to readapt and reboost the client's diet, nutrition. I use the word diet now. That's my apology. It is a Sunday.
Mm.
My apologies. The nutrition and the gym routine, etc., etc., and then you can spike it from there.
Okay, and then what does your typical day look like at, incorporating your training and you training other people as well as your eating habits?
Yeah, so majority of my clientele, especially not being in South Africa at the moment, all my clients are international. So it's all done
Mm.
virtually, like this podcast is being done. I don't train any clients currently in South Africa for obvious reasons. I'm very transcendent, backwards and forwards. So all my clients are overseas in Dubai, Switzerland, etc. So I train them. So normally wake up morning, go for a run, then come back, have a cup of coffee, start with clients because some clients start at 6 a.m., 7 a.m. And then finish that up, hit the showers, and then go and train myself. Then come back. Then I'm working on my online clients programs, etc. Then do some afternoon clients, and then maybe squeeze in another gym session later on in the evening, early evening, and then later into the evening I work on other side projects as well. That's kind of the day in my life. So very monotonous, very boring, but I got to say, it gets the job done.
It's effective.
It's effective, correct.
Okay. And how long did you say you were in this fitness journey in the bodybuilding industry? You said since you were 14. So how many years was that?
That's 24.
It's 24 years. So, okay, in the past 24 years, how has these industries changed? How has the industry changed for the good and also for the bad?
When you say industry, you mean the fitness industry,
The fitness
bodybuilding
industry and
industry,
bodybuilding, fitness industry as a
bodybuilding.
whole, actually, and then bodybuilding separate.
It's changed quite a bit, to be honest with you. So when I first stepped on stage way back when, it was a lot less glorified. It wasn't so published where nowadays everyone is a competitor. Your lineups are massive. The amount of federations that are out there, the politics that is out there, etc. Because again, no matter what you want to look at it as, each one of these federations is a business. Each one has a reason to have their shows, etc., to turnover and income, to turnover athletes, etc. So you'll see a lot of politics that breaks out on social media about each one of the federations, both locally and internationally. This isn't just a local problem; it's an international problem. So it has become a little bit more which side you're willing to fight on. There's always going to be the problems. There's always going to be the battles. So it's just which side you're willing to fight on. So it has changed quite a bit. There's a lot of BS out there, excuse my French, because obviously with these social media influencers and all that, they're just publicizing information that they don't know is correct. They're regurgitating stuff that they've seen other social influencers say. So a lot of them don't come with the right accolades. They just have the right number of followers. And then these are the trends that start to follow through. So there's a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of it. And unfortunately, the more of it that's out there, it's really hard to dissect what is actually legit information that you can actually follow. Because again, they're also following a cookie cutter method where they say, do this and you'll lose 10 pounds or lose 10 kgs, whereby each person is different, like we mentioned earlier. So you can't really say that you can follow X, Y, and Z when every body type's different. Everyone's bodies react to proteins differently, etc., etc.
Okay. And would you say that it was easier about 24 years ago to get the correct things, or do you think social media and the internet and all of those things made it easier, or what do you think?
I would say easier and not easier in the same breath, because it was easier in the sense that the information was normally more correct without using a grammatical sense. But now the resources and the access is a lot easier to get the information now, because a lot happened back then where you'd have your muscle and fitness magazines and all that you could follow. Right, on occasion there were a couple of websites and stuff that you could kind of find because it was only the fledgling start of the internet, so to speak, with that. So you couldn't really obtain as much info that you can now. So that's why it's a double-edged sword to answer this, because yes, it's easier to access the information, but no, because the information isn't always correct, as I said earlier on.
Okay. And then when did you leave South Africa, and what were the reasons behind that?
So I've been going backwards and forwards internationally since about 2006. So initially it was to the US, backwards and forwards, and then 2016, end of 2016 was to Dubai, to the Middle East. And yeah, it was just to find more of a challenge. Something that I've just wanted to do is find more of a challenge. I'm always transcendent between the different countries. So between Dubai, the Middle East, South Africa, as well as the US, I'm always bouncing between them. And hopefully by the end of the year, add Saudi to that list and a couple others. So it's just diversifying. It's growing my knowledge. And every time you go to a different country, meet different types of clientele, etc., and people, you obviously open up your mind to different lifestyles and different business and different opportunities.
Okay, and then how important is that part where you say you have to continually learn? There's always new things out on the market. There's continuously new research out. How do you stay on top of all those new research, all the new trends, and how do you learn that? How can you incorporate all of those in your I would say, in your personal fitness as well as into those of your clients?
So it's virtually impossible to stay on top of all of it. There's too much
Mhm.
information to stay on top of it. But what you got to try and do is diversify the information that you're receiving and try and see how they could seek into your current program. Because what you want to do is you've got your current program set here and you're learning all this information. You don't suddenly want to be up here. You need to slowly progress up the ladder to get your the new programs. I'm just using that very loosely for the sake of conversation. So you got to start adding in bits and pieces, learn a little bit from here, learn a little bit from there, and adapt it according to you. Because don't forget, with each coach and each training program, everyone is different. I train my clients differently to the next coach. You know, I have my own routines, my own uniqueness, my own way of doing it. Some people would say not like the way I do it. That's why they might want to go to another coach, and vice versa. They might not like their coach, and they might want to come to me. So you got to add in your own element on top of all that to all the information you're receiving, and then obviously mold it into your own programs.
Okay, and then kind of make it your own, or make all of the
Correct.
information your own. Okay,
Customize it. Yeah.
customize. Okay, and then there's this, I would say, the stigma around I would say, in the weightlifting part of fitness and bodybuilding, that um, the the heavier the better, the more weight you can pick up, the more weight you will gain. You know, that kind of stigma. And a lot of times people don't use the correct form, correct techniques, but they get the weights up. So, what's your opinion on that?
Again, when you say bigger is better, are we talking about bodybuilding and specifically? Because don't
Let's
forget,
talk
in the
about this.
bodybuilding world, there's other elements being your physique, etc. Then obviously you have your
Mm,
ladies divisions going down from bikini all the way up to figure. So it all varies on what you're looking to achieve in the show. Because a lot of the time, when you're starting to get bigger and better, the thing is you have to start including other sources, start bringing in PEDs and all that stuff into the podcast. But
mm,
that's where people start gaining the more mass. You know, it's an unnatural way to gain that type of mass, but because people want to get rich quick, so to speak, they will go at any means to obtain that. And then again, at the same breath, it's virtually impossible to compete with some of these pro bodybuilders without going that route. You know, you're always going to be left on the side, whilst these guys are always one step ahead of you because of their cycles, etc.
mm. And these days, there's a lot more awareness also regarding PEDs, and there's a lot of more information out there uh, because of the harms and the side effect that is associated with that. Do you think that it is better these days, or what's your opinion on that?
It's worse. It's worse. What I'm going to say
Okay.
straightforward is it's worse because of the knowledge that's out there. I know of so
Mm,
many coaches, and obviously I'm not going to name any
mm,
on the podcast, but I know of so many coaches that are first time lady competitors that are going out there in the bikini divisions. So it's a started division where they're just starting to go onto stage and they're getting pumped through cycles. And it's just, I see it as a lazy coach's approach. I know I'm going to get a lot of grief about that because that's the way I see it. I don't put my clients through PED cycles. I don't touch PEDs myself. I'm very anti
mm,
them, and I'm very been open about that I'm anti them in every way possible. I find it lazier. So that's why I don't normally deal with the bigger athletes because I know what it's going to lead to. But I know from my own case in point, if I can achieve what I can achieve without PEDs, then we should be good. So the knowledge that has been put out there, a lot of the coaches are picking this up and they're just pumping it in. And a lot of the coaches as well are ex competitors, and then they take what they've learned from their previous coach, the cycles, and then copy and paste that and put their current clients through it. And it's just it's terrible. It's very I'm realizing that girls now at the age of like 24, 25 have already gotten the deeper voices, you know, and they've already started going all through these things, and it's just like they're ruined. And there's some coaches that will just literally do it, they will literally fool their clients with PEDs just because it's an easier approach than actually taking the harder method. Because then they're guaranteed through PEDs to get the results rather than going and fine tuning each client and taking each one on as a challenge.
okay. And uh, there's also a psychological aspect in training behind your seeing your body change, and a lot of times there's this thing that, again, you want to be better, you want to get better, and there's lot of talk about body dysmorphia and these kind of things these days. Um, how do you think individuals should approach that and just say, okay, this is my goal. If I've reached my goal, maybe then set a next goal, but keep it maintainable and keep it achievable, because it doesn't happen a lot of times.
See, agreed. It is hard to sometimes reach some of these unattainable goals. I definitely agreed. The problem is each time it's depending on the coach and monitoring the client situation and the expectations to give them the right response, because sometimes everyone wants to come up. I've had clients come up to me for, no, I need to go on PEDs. I'm like, unfortunately, I'm not going to do that. You need to go find someone else, because I will not put your body at risk, all right, to put you on stage. My end goal is to always get them at their height of their fitness levels, and then to maintain that. And then what we can do is then build that up and then start challenging in other ways. So building up that ladder, like you mentioned, in other ways, rather than just saying, cool, let's go this route and that route. So with your body dysmorphia statement, that is unfortunately one of the biggest problems. Social media has made it a curse, because everyone thinks everyone is like super slim in this 24/7, which is not the case. There are the handful of influencers out there that actually publicize the fact that this is what I look like unposed, this is what I look like posed. So don't always believe what you see on social media. But the body dysmorphia thing is, once you've stepped in gym, it can be the best blessing for you and the biggest curse, because you can start watching your body change, but then you're never going to accept, because you're like, oh, cool, I got this far doing this. How far can I actually take this? You understand? So you're never really going to be happy. So it's a double-edged sword with that. And unfortunately, that's part of it. But I'd rather deal with that issue than people being obese and having heart issues, etc., if that makes any sense.
Yes, definitely. And what would you say was one of your biggest transformations that you have had with your clients? Whether that is weight loss or muscle gain or fitness, what did you say?
I wouldn't really go down to a specific, because each one has got their own ones. I've had all of the above. So be it mental, physical, learning to actually create a routine. I've got top end businessmen who hated the fact of gym. They hated every element of it, to training them maybe once, twice a week, to now training them every single day, no matter where they are in the world. That to me is a huge transformation, because now I've literally changed this person's life, because they've now realized the outcome from doing this. And then obviously I've had clients who post-pregnancy have lost weight, and I've had clients that are put on stage who've never competed before, going all the way up to overalls, winning overalls. I've done all the different elements. So each one is personal, and I never look at each one of them as a trophy. Each one is my own little personal goals, and I don't like to really publicize too much what they've all achieved, because that's up to their own. I'm just there guiding them. They're doing the real work. So the transformations for them to publicize, not really for me. They're paying me to guide them to do the right things, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then there's also this thing these days about the mind-muscle connection. Well, what is that all about? And how do you incorporate
Not these
that into your
days.
training?
Not these days. It's been for ages, but unfortunately now certain people are making it a bit more public. So it's a simple premise of mind-muscle connection, as the name says. It's learning how to connect the muscle, where you'll see a lot of times people just see a bicep curl and they're just throwing the arm up and down, and they don't know what the hell they're doing. There's also their form is off. They're not connecting with the actual muscle that they're supposed to be developing. There's certain ways you're supposed to connect. There's certain ways you're supposed to hold under tension. There's certain ways you're supposed to squeeze. Certain other tactics that your coach should be teaching you how to do. There's always the basic foundation of just learning how to move. And then once you've got the basics and you can move your body in certain ways, then you pick it up where you start connecting the muscle with the mind.
Okay. How important is it to rest and to go into those recovery phases, and not training every single day, or not taking any days off? What's your opinion and your perception?
It's vitally important to rest. But sometimes it's easier said than done, because what will happen, it's a mental game as well, is when you're not at the gym training, you feel like you're losing muscle tissue. But muscle is built when you rest. Muscle is built when you sleep. So when you're sleeping at night, if you get a good night's sleep, that's when the actual hard work that you put in at the gym that day is actually showing. But again, people don't always see it that way. They'd rather go and squeeze in 5-6 hours at the gym, depending if you're a professional athlete. That's a different story, obviously. I'm just talking about general population. That's when the muscle develops the most, is when you are resting and taking recovery. But again, I also, even though I'm a professional in this, I do too sometimes want to just train 7 days a week. Because sometimes you just want to go to the gym and just get it done. But I do know that rest periods are vitally important.
Okay, and then also, again, there's a new thing sticking its head out, and has been sticking its head out the last couple of years, and that is the cold baths, the baths, the ice plunges.
Ice bath, yes.
Yes. Have you done any of those, and how would you say they affect and contribute uh, to the rest and recovery?
Yeah, I've been a big believer before they became popular. The Iceman, Hoff, he's the one that publicized it and made it a popular technique. And good on him on that one because I've always believed in cold showers, etc., etc. For my own personal uptake, it's better than any cup of coffee, any espresso. Best way to wake up in the morning, especially in the middle of winter. I push it on most of my clients. I push it on most people just to break into it and start getting it started. Just saying cold showers, not saying going into the ice baths themselves, but the ice baths, they do assist, they do help. There has been a lot of debate in the fact that sometimes it degrades your muscle tissue. So for recovery wise, for an athlete, again, not a bodybuilder, for an athlete, it works better than a bodybuilder. I don't want to go into. I'm not scientifically appraised with regards to saying this stuff, so I don't want to go into the too technical aspects. I need to do my research first. But from my own personal capacity and what I promote it to do, it's good recovery. It's good to relax. It's good to help your blood flow. It's good to help with your immunity. It's good to help with all those aspects, pretty much. So when you're talking about muscle tissue and muscle development, that's not really my forte. So I don't want to go and speak out of my own knowledge.
Okay, and then this is a question that I need to ask and I have to ask, especially in the open bodybuilding categories and that classes. How do you incorporate cardiovascular activities, maybe going on the jog, walking on the treadmill? How do you incorporate that with your client?
Again, it all varies. So it depends on what the end game is. Because at the end of the day, the cardiovascular aspect is to help burn in the excess calories. It's to help tighten up the muscles and tighten up the skin, depending on which level they're at before they step on stage. As well as the other side of the coin is because these bodybuilders eat a mass of food, all right, and they're not very active. They do more of a hit type of session. You need to get your cardiovascular running and your heart running. And that's where the biggest problem is coming in, is where you see young professional bodybuilders dropping from heart attacks is because they're not looking after the insides, like I mentioned early on in the podcast, rather the outsides. It's vitally important. You got to look after the engine. You can't just make sure the car's nice and shiny on the outside. You need to make sure the engine is working.
Okay, and then how do you stay motivated during days that things aren't going for you as well as they should? You have reached a plateau in your own personal journey, or just things in general isn't good, because everybody has those days, but you shouldn't stop at those days. Obviously, people should go above and beyond them. What's your approach?
Correct, 100%. So you will have those days where you don't want to train, like you said, and those days that you don't want to train and you do actually train are sometimes the best sessions. I'm still yet to meet someone who goes and trains at the gym and leaves the gym miserable. It never happens. So you can go to the gym miserable, come back happy. You go to the gym happy, you come back even happier, and so forth. But it does happen, especially if you have been overtraining, is you've had a terrible week at work, etc. It is going to happen. That's why you always stick to the routine. If you're supposed to be at the gym at 5 to 6, you just go to the gym at 5 to 6, get it done. If you need to have a little bit of extra energy, so have an energy drink or something before, just to give you a little bit of pump. Mine is my music choice, my playlists. That's what gets me going each time. And just go in there with the fact that you just got to do A, B, and C from 5 to 6 p.m., for example. Just get it done. Same as you have to brush your teeth every day. You have to shower, or you should, and you have to shower every day, etc., etc. It's the same format that you need to follow. Just kind of stick to it and just get it done.
Okay, so how important do you think is setting routines for yourself?
Highly important. Highly. I'm OCD in that sense that my entire day is set in a routine. It's all locked into the diary. I'm very old school. I still use pen and paper as well as the digital calendar. It's very, very important because otherwise you subside things, you miss things, you mess up things. If you stick to a routine, you're guaranteed to get things done and achieve them a lot quicker.
Okay, and you also now mentioned on some days people don't maybe feel like they don't have enough energy. What do you think of pre-workouts and pre-workout supplementation that is out there, and the taking of the caffeine and all of those additional I would say, nutrition.
With the caffeine intakes and all that. Yeah, see, again, I can't specify because it depends on what the client is dealing with. They could have heart issues, they could have certain other medical conditions that are underlying. So it's very tricky. For myself, I'm very prone to not, I can go and have a triple espresso and then go straight to sleep. So I'm very able to intake caffeine levels, higher caffeine levels. So it's all varying. So it's always, if you're going to start and you really are struggling to get proper energy levels up in the gym, it's always to start from a smaller dosage and slowly start building yourself up, and then just watch what you're intaking as well. So this is something that you need to discuss with your coach if you have a coach. If you don't, you need to get proper advice from this. And the people that work at the supplement counters at certain pharmacies, I won't mention them, don't always know what they're doing because they always get a cut from which supplement they're going to be promoting. That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, and do you think that part, as you just mentioned, people getting the cut, that extra maybe 5 or 10%, or these days there's a lot of those things with affiliate marketing and a lot of the bad advertising. We've talked about that earlier. Um, how do you think that should be approached in order to give the general public a better perception of what is actually out there, what is actually in the products, what is actually maintainable and achievable?
Unfortunately, that'll never happen. No matter how much we want it to happen, it's never actually going to happen because the companies need to make money. And the way they make money is by getting affiliate marketers on board, get a face behind the brand to sell the brand. Even if it's a terrible brand, this has happened many, many, many times before. And unfortunately, it's not really going to ever change. You are not going to get a company that comes out there that is 100% honest, especially in the supplement format. You'll get a lot of them will say, oh, X, Y, and Z, this is the better one. So each one of them have their own problems, but you got to just find the better of a bad bunch, so to speak.
Okay, and how do you find those better ones? What do you do? How do you say, okay, this is the specific one I'm going to use for
really
this?
supplement. Yeah, see, I don't really supplement that often. I don't really promote it onto most of my clients. Occasional bit of protein here and there in a protein shake just to get in some extra intake. And as I mentioned, pre-workouts, majority of the stuff, but don't forget, it's a supplement. You're supposed to supplement into your diets. You're not supposed to rely on them. And that's where the problem is. A lot of these supplement companies are putting youngsters on copious amounts of tablets, copious amounts of different powders, etc., and they're just destroying their body. For me, as I said, I use protein, pre-workout, that's it. On the odd occasion, if I'm going to have a cheat meal, I'll just knock in some CLA or something like that. Other than that, that's where I stick to, and that's what I promote to my clients. I'm not a big booster of the supplement brands. You don't normally need them.
Okay, and so there's I would say almost the rich piranha behind that, meaning always eat the real food. Supplements can never replace real food.
The healthier, the better. Yeah, that's it. The realer, the better, the healthier. Correct.
Okay, and when you were doing competitions and preparing for competitions, how did you manage the stress and the adrenaline and all of those kind of things, the emotions, and going into a competition in order to be the best that you want to be and are going to be?
Well, how did I deal with it? See, in the beginning, it was always more challenging, but the more and more I competed, the more I did it, the more it became routine, so to speak. So in the beginning, you don't really know what the heck you're doing. So you're just kind of going out there and you wing it, so to speak, and slowly but surely you start picking up the different consistencies that are always in every single show and every single prep and every single 10-day out mode, etc. And from the emotion perspective, it's just you do this for yourself. That's your number one. You're doing this for yourself. The person looking back in the mirror is the only person you're doing this for. And then that's where a lot of people go and they start looking at their competitors on stage. Oh, damn, this guy is looking incredible. Look at me, etc. Meanwhile, they're not looking at what they looked at like 3 months ago in comparison to. And that's also the biggest problem with the bodybuilding industry in that sense, or one of the biggest problems, is that people are always chasing the trophies. They're not 1, 2, and 3. They're never realizing that they 6 months ago were completely overweight, unhealthy, etc. Now they're stepping on the stage and standing in a lineup with professionals who've done this for so many years, and they should take that as their high five rather than, oh, damn it, I didn't win my trophy. You see, so it's the wrong mindset where it's more about winning now than the actual lifestyle choices that these shows are trying to or used to try and implement.
Okay. And what kind of misconceptions are there these days in the bodybuilding industry that you would like to rectify?
Well, where do I begin? There's a lot of them. I'd have to. Can I hold you to that question? I'll have to get back to you on that one. There's a few of those.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Okay. And what advice would you give to people that is just starting their now I want to go into the fitness, only the fitness, the health part. I'm going into the health part, just starting their fitness journey. Maybe going to the gym, try to incorporate good nutrition, good fitness, and just living a good lifestyle. What advice would you give to those?
First one I'd like to give out is that it's not a sprint; it's a marathon. Take each step, each time forward. Step one forward, step forward, step forward, step forward. Don't run at it. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon. And so a lot of these people go in and they want to get a get rich quick scheme again, and they just want to lose weight instantly and then go back to their old lifestyle. It's not about that. It's a change of life. This is for the rest of your life, for you to live. So take each step, each day, each step at a time, and enjoy the process. Find ways of enjoying the process. Because as soon as you start enjoying the process, this is going to become a chore rather than a hobby, if that makes sense.
Okay. And then what kind of motivational quotes or I would say mantras are your favorites and or some of those that you live by every day?
Sure. Putting me on the spot here on a Sunday afternoon. Um, what are some of the best quotes? Sure. There's a few that I've thrown on my Instagram as of late. I'm going to use that one now for an example where it's the glass is half full or the glass is half empty approach. No matter how you look at it, you always got to look at the half full being what you've achieved thus far and the half empty what you're still going to achieve. And no matter what that case is, you can always refill the glass. That is one of my favorite things because a lot of people are always looking at their lives like, oh, I've done nothing, when they don't actually look back at their lives and say, okay, damn, I've actually done X, Y, and Z. All right, so now look, what's the next one? You know, people are always chasing the greener grass on the other side and chasing what everyone else has rather than appreciating what they've already achieved and what they have themselves.
Okay. And then what is your next thing? What is your next dream, your next goal that what does the future hold for you?
Oh, I don't want to throw that out into the universe just yet. I don't want to jinx it just in case I don't achieve it. But there's a couple. There's a few different ones. I do want to do something that I've been wanting to do for a while now from a fitness adventure aspect is I just want to climb Kilimanjaro. I want to do a couple other hikes like that on destinations because I've never, my schedule's never aligned to actually doing it. So something I've been wanting to do for the last 15 years. So that's one. And the other ones, I'm going to have to say watch this space as well. I don't want to put that out there just yet in case I can't achieve it.
Okay. So I'm going to stop the recording now as it's almost 5 o'clock. So just before you go, just tell the people where they can reach out to you, where they can find you, how can they get in contact with you.
All right, fantastic. So yeah, the easiest and best way to get in touch with me would be on Instagram. Okay, so I have ITS Brett Richard as my Instagram handle. All right, so they can message me any time of day on there, get in touch with me, or they can get in touch with my training company, which is Military Core Training on Instagram. And there's obviously Facebook, etc., but Instagram is the one where I'm most active on.
Okay, great. Then I'm going to stop the recording just now. Okay.